think a couple of things come to mind, and I think kind of relates to like why I want to do this path. And then we've talked about this, and a lot of things kind of overlap, if not all, I guess. But one thing for me is just the control. Like I think I mentioned this before, but control over my own destiny was a big factor for me when I was deciding to go down this path, especially when I was having this conversation with my wife. Like I've been in the corporate world. My entire career basically is in a corporation. So and went through changes, like 180-degree changes within the organization. Like once when we were in an American-owned company, and then I was there through the transition to an M&A process, because we were acquired by another player. So total different culture, total different KPIs, and I witnessed firsthand, like once the company decides to change strategy, just like a slightly pivot, I was in charge of like laying people off because of that, and people who were performing, doing their job, meeting their KPIs, but based on like the vision or what the company wanted to move forward, I needed to like change that, and like not only my team, my peers. So yeah, that, and just having that control over my own destiny in a way that I cannot do in the corporate world, that was a huge driver for this passion for entrepreneurship. And also like having a baby now, having a family, and like having to look out for their future, and like and not like you, I never had an option or stock on when I was working on the corporate world, so never had any sort of participation of the upside. So I was working really hard, long hours, but if there was an exit or an IPO, I was not part of that upside. So I think that kind of drove my passion to why I wanted to pursue this path, I guess.
Yeah, certainly some alignment there. I certainly have been lucky in my career, and now looking back, while I was able to participate, I think I realized that the rewards didn't match the level of input that I was putting in, like the amount of time, the amount of energy and dedication I was putting in. And when I learned about this model, I think the math made more sense. The math got way more simple. Smaller company sizes, the companies I used to work at were in like the billions in valuation, and you own a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent. So then the total output doesn't always end up being that much. Whereas in the small business space, the lower middle market space, the math becomes much more simple. You own 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%, or in some cases 100% of a company. So whatever you sell your company for, if you own 100%, you get 100% of the rewards. That math, that way of thinking made more sense to me. And I think the ownership one, we're aligned there. I think control and ownership, and I think all of it kind of ties together. Again, back to the accountability too. You make a decision, the results come in. It was nobody else like impacted that decision, for me at least. So therefore I'm responsible, I'm accountable for it. And it's up to me again to make the next decision based on what just happened. And then I think by working for yourself or owning your own company, you have full reign and full control to make all those decisions. And I think it takes a certain type of personality to be comfortable in that. I think that's the upside. The downside is there's nobody telling you what to do. There's no guardrails, there's no safety rails, there's no safety net. Nobody's going to come in and bail you out as the owner of a company or owner of a business. Yeah. So there's certainly higher risk, higher reward in that space, and I think I just have an appetite and interest in that, which leads nicely to what entrepreneurship feeds. Yeah,
I think you mentioned one thing there that also resonates, is the flexibility part, right? So I have a 3-year-old now. And part of this is, hey, I want to be flexible enough with my time where when she has something important, I want to be there. Like if she decides to do sports and then she has a game, I want to be able to be there. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be working 8 hours. Like that just means that, okay, I can work around my schedule, so I can do and go to whatever she feels it's important for me to go, and then I can just work afterwards, rather than having that managing my own times. And I think one more thing to add there is it's having that impact on people's lives. Like in this case, I mean, we're not building something from 0 to 1, but in like if we're going to do from 1 to 10, if we're going to go to a small business, having an impact on like customers, yes, but the people who work with us or who are going to work with us, having a positive impact on their lives, like seeing them thrive. I think that's something that's going to be really a passion.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think a lot of the companies I used to work at, the customer base was in like the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of customers. And I think when you're at that, maybe even at thousands of customers at that scale, it just becomes like this kind of faceless blob of customers where you don't really have that direct one-on-one interaction and therefore no direct relationship.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important too, in not only forming relationships with the people that you work closely with in the company, but then also with the customers that you're interacting with, so that you do know each other. There's a level of trust there and a level of longevity in that relationship. I think there's something beautiful in that.
Yeah, agreed. I think first is I feel like we have this, really amazing group of investors who have have put their trust in us, and I feel like I owe them so much for letting us pursue this dream. That like whenever there's a tough day, I'm like, okay, I have a responsibility to people. So I need to keep going. Like just put my head down and keep moving. And also I have a family, and I'm the only provider. So I'm just thinking, okay, I have to provide for my family. So that's another driver for me for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'll plus one to your comment about the investors. I think when you take on investors, there is, in addition to the fiduciary or the financial responsibility of taking money from investors, like we made a promise to them and they made a promise to us, and I think it's on us to fulfill that. And then I think to add on to that, from my side, is the promise I made to you by choosing to partner with you.
Oh, yeah.
Is I feel a responsibility to our partnership too to keep going through. And I think again it comes back to some of the earlier things we touched on around accountability, responsibility, ownership. I think it's a nice way to align all the incentives of being a business owner, because in this case, at least from my side as a part owner of this business, I recognize that if I don't do the work, who's going to do the work? And then if I don't do the work and the company doesn't perform well, there's nobody else to look at and be held responsible other than myself. So because of that, keep pushing.
Keep grinding, man. It's a really hard path, but really rewarding at the same time. Mm-hmm. If you want to do it, I think the downside is not as bad as if you don't try. I think it's something that it's definitely worth pursuing, and like you have a good answer for like the time frame, how long. I mean, I'm speaking from the search fund perspective, but I think you're being more on the entrepreneurial side from the 0 to 1, so maybe you can answer that question better than I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Grit is the word that comes to mind for me. Really having the perseverance and the drive and the resolve to keep pushing through the highs and the lows. I think any entrepreneur will certainly have both high points and low points, and to find a way to kind of stay even keeled through both, so don't ride the highs too high and don't ride the lows too low. And then I think also alignment is a big one too. Really understanding the motivating factors on why even becoming interested in starting your own business or being a business owner. Mm-hmm. If those motivations don't align, I'm not certain how sustainable an entrepreneur's journey can be. And I think that speaks to things like the grit, the perseverance, but also an interest, a skill set, and a passion. I think when all those things align, make for a good, situation, whether it's entrepreneurship or anything else in life.
Yeah, I think you touch on something great. Like, find your why. Like, the why you want to do this should be your driver, should be your passion, your motivation. If I have to give another piece of advice, it will be try to find a partner. Don't do it alone, for sure. I mean, I don't know. Like, I was talking to another searcher who's doing a self-fund, and I'm like, I don't know how you could do this alone. Like, if I didn't have George, I don't think I would have done this by myself. And also, find a good support system. So I'm lucky enough to have, a family and a wife who really supports me throughout this journey. And I think that's something that if you can get there, you can have somebody there in your corner. It's really important.